Hello, good afternoon. I just had to check up here, 12:16, so it is just a brand new afternoon, as it is the afternoon of a brand new day and a brand new realization, a brand new expression, a brand new understanding. This is optimizing our time after all. If we could be so successful to bring a new understanding with us as we woke up in the morning, each and every morning. Wouldn't that be amazing? Well, unfortunately, for me at least, I'm more into a little bit of a discovery. A discovery on along the way, a discovery of the process of reaching a new understanding. And this is, I think, day 4 that I've done one of these sharings in a row. I think it's day 4. I'm losing track, but I'm motivated. I'm here because I want to be, but yet at the same time I have to be. It seemed imperative because what I'm understanding about this process is just because I'm experiencing something doesn't mean I'm anywhere close to mastering it yet. It's all part of the process. This latest epilogue, this latest journey started April 25th when I shared boundless love. And again, pardon me, this is a rehash, but there is a method to my madness. There is a continuity that I want to share. So this boundless love. And then after giving this and again, this boundless love was motivated by my empathetic expression, my empathetic reaction to this COVID virus, COVID-19, the coronavirus. This was my reaction. But again, it had attachment, it had its emotive reaction. And even though I spoke of boundless love, apparently I reached the bounds of the boundless because the transmission, the giving, the passing, the being a vehicle of love got to be exhausting. And the only reason that I can see now, looking back, because the reason it became exhaustive is that the emotional aspect, the empathy, the attachment I'm talking about here. Otherwise, I'm quite sure that this state of boundless love can be maintained indefinitely without any attachment. And herein lies the rub. I was attached. And the dawning of this attachment, interesting enough, I use the word dawning, of this realization about the emotive attachment and the limitations that emotive attachment put on the duration that I could sustain transmitting the boundless love. And I understood it as dark skies heavy rain, heavy storm front rolling in. And the import of this dark sky, so I have to go back and listen exactly what I shared with that teaching, that sharing. Sorry, these are not teachings. These are only humble sharings. But I want to go back and take a look at dark skies and see how I interpreted it at the time that I expressed it. But what I saw it as is a time to get back to the work, get back to the work of releasing attachments, even well-intended, emotive attachments. Had a limited purpose for a while, but like all good things, they have appropriate time of celebrating their ending. The word appeals to me, endness. Is there such a word as endness? I don't think so, but I like it. It had utilized and had reached its endness, its state of no longer being not only useful, the end of being useful, but is yet another subtle attachment. See, this work is never done. That's the beauty of it. But you have to be vigilant. So what I came to after this time of realizing that even the best intentions, even with the best intentions, attachments are encumbering. So I'm new to go back to something that I wanted to talk about for a while. This was what I wanted to talk about before I talked about boundless love, because it was if I hadn't experienced this emotive connection to what I interpreted the virus to mean as damaging, as people suffering. If I hadn't been at this point, I would have done awakened selfishness earlier, but I felt a little guilty about the timing. I wanted to talk about awakened selfishness in a time of suffering. It didn't seem appropriate at that time. Now I understand that it is or was as it should have been. But come back to something that I wanted to share about how important this inner focus to the complete exclusion of everyone and everything else. It's a prerequisite. When you find yourself ready for this, to embrace selfishness in its purest sense, intuiting that by so doing, you can begin the process of growing beyond non-abiding awakening, going beyond the flashes into take that step into abiding, permanent state of awakening. And without, at least, again, all this is prefaced by I'm sharing my experience. I'm sharing what worked for me. So only through the process of going inward with complete abandon, complete trust, then the process for me of my awakening process, the process from the impermanent to the permanent, began its course, its 3-day course. So I was motivated to share. That was something that I'd experienced and I could speak to clearly, without hesitation, 100% endorsement, because I knew, again, for me, that this was the truth. But now, after sharing what I'd already been through, I started to try to document. I started to understand what I was currently going through. I'm still going through. And each sharing was like an instruction for myself. In order to get here, I needed to do this. So the first thing I talked about was cultivating indifference. In this state of mind, knowing what I didn't yet know. Knowing that there was something coming that I did not know. But I know yet. But I was shown the step-by-step process, one step at a time. So the first big hit was cultivating indifference. And I still like that. I'm quite enamored with that. Because it was succinct and it really kind of encapsulated what the next step was. I had to nurture it, I had to grow it. For what purpose? I'm beginning to get an inkling, okay? But at that time, I had no idea except that it had to do with any remaining attachments that I had. Even if they're the most well-intended attachments, they still had to go. And coupled with this was the importance for me personally to understand that I was to listen to only my words for me. And this is when I came up with no words but my own. And again, I'm talking to myself. I was celebrating my maturity, my Buddha, my Buddhahood maturity. And then I had this really interesting experience about witnessing. Being very familiar with witness that I'd always had as my companion. The witness was always with me, but this was different. The witness and myself were one and the same, and it took me to separate myself from life itself, from the life force. Sitting on the side, sitting on the riverbank, watching the river, watching life go by. And as strange as this may seem, I mean, how can you separate yourself from life? Yeah. But indeed, it's interesting because that separation allowed a union, allowed an understanding that the witness and myself were one and the same. This ties in with no words because I would listen to the witness. No words but my own. You see that connection? The witness and moi were one and the same. Okay, and with that came this glimpsing finally of how I could accomplish is not the word, how I could embrace clarity, how it could incorporate clarity into my Buddha lexicon. I like that. How I could incorporate, because I just got that glimpse of that union of witness and self. That union only to be realized by separation. From separation came union. And I understood that that was what clarity was. And now it didn't necessarily follow. It didn't, trust me, it didn't follow that. All of a sudden, I'm clear. All of a sudden, I'm the epitome of clarity. I'm the be-all and end-all of clarity. All I got was the understanding of that's the key to unlocking clarity. And then my next message was, one that I wasn't quite prepared for. I mean, here I had already was cultivating indifference, but now the message was disengage. Now I'm seeing as a few days into it, this is another step of how the state of clarity, how to be in this state of clarity will be possible for me. So I have to, even in the strongest words, disengage. And I realized I have to even disengage in the process of trying to engage in clarity. I had to disengage from that, the latest and newest attempted engagement. Again, it's time It's a leap of faith again. So I couldn't think of a stronger way to couch, to frame this disengage. Okay. And why disengage? And what exactly now at this stage was I disengaging from? Again, it was words. Now I'd already gotten to the point of understanding when my words were all that I needed. But maybe in the process, probably as I'm speaking, this is unveiling. Probably in the process of understanding that my words could stand, that's all that I needed. I had to delve even deeper. Now we're down to just my words, okay? For me. You have your words for you. Go find them. Go get them. More power to you. But for me, I was shown that my words were enough. Then I went straight into like unencumbered. I felt like a 2x4. Unencumbered, stupid. Big bashing. Unencumbered. So I skipped a step there because I went from disengage to unencumbered. In between disengage, now I had to disengage even from my own words because I talked about words lead to action. And what the state I needed to be in right now to optimize this experience that's occurring for me is inaction. It's a time to not do anything. It's a time to do nothing. And that's what unencumbered meant. Unencumbered, I'm released from the actions, or I must release myself from the actions that my own words create. My own words inevitably lead to action. So this unencumbered in no uncertain terms stressed to me that to let go of my own words. And trust me, the irony is not lost on me when I'm sitting here sharing with you in words my internal process. My internal process that didn't involve any dialogue, any words. And I haven't even asked why. Because what's the point? No why, okay? Yeah, I haven't even asked why. It hasn't even entered my mind until I just framed it now. But my message is that I got to see what is clarity. I got to see what needed to be accomplished in order to become clear. And yesterday I talked about unlocking clarity, which is what all these steps particularly from cultivating indifference. No words but my own, sitting by a river, disengaged, worthily to action, unencumbered. All of these are step by step instructions with the intent of unlocking clarity. And here's where the rub becomes big, because clarity, if I go back in my history a little bit, my 33 years of strict Renzai, Zen, discipline, sitting, meditation, koan, study, in my mind were linked with accomplishing this state of clarity. And all that time I believed that once you silence your mind, there's clarity. And we know how successful I've been at that, don't we? Yes. Spectacularly unsuccessful, even after 33 years of diligence, only to arrive at the point of giving up. So that in my humble way, I could understand when the Buddha, after all of his diligence, gave up, and the enlightening process occurred. Probably spontaneously over time. immediately over time. Because it occurred immediately, but it took some time to recognize, some time. Certainly in my case, I knew it happened, but it took some time to begin to understand what it entailed. So here we are. Yesterday is at this state of unlocking clarity. And none of these, I want to stress again, none of these things that I've listed has been in any way connected to what I'm thinking, what I'm wanting, what I'm planning, what I'm expecting, what I'm anticipating. As a witness, that simple understanding of separation of life to gain the unity of the witness and the self. And to understand that was where clarity lay, in this unity that took separation to get to. But I also knew that I wasn't there yet. I'm still not. As I look at you, I'm still not there. But at least I learned. And now, my lessons, unencumbered, was all-encompassing. To what end? Unlocking clarity, as I shared to you yesterday. And now, today, we're finally getting around to what I wanted to talk, the title of today's sharing, what this led me to. And this has led me to detachment. Detachment is the next step. And detachment from everything. As if I didn't get the lesson from cultivating indifference and disengage and to be unencumbered. Now, once again, after I see that clarity can be unlocked. It just might unfold for me, but right away, maybe I have some attachment. I'm sure I must, because it was something I sought after for so long. Imagine to be clear. It's always been beyond my imagination, so much to the point that at one point I said, I'll never be clear. And now I'm getting an inkling. First, an understanding of what it is. Not what it is, but how to begin to be able to receive it. That's it. I didn't know what clarity is, but I know I had to learn how to be able to begin the process of receiving it, because it looks like it's being gifted. But right away, there comes this huge red flag. Detach, detach, detach. Because maybe I have some unnecessary, incorrect ideas of what clarity means, what it means to be clear, what it means to be in a state of clarity. I might have some baggage because I wanted it for so long. So detachment meant to me immediate expectations. Detach from everything that I thought clarity was, everything that I think clarity is, or maybe, or could be. It's like I'm trying to enclose, I'm trying to encapsulate something that's can't be caged, can't be confined in any way, can only be understood when you are in that state of clarity. So I have to detach, I have to let go any preconceptions, any residual longing, any attempts at understanding. I have to release, I have to let these things go. This is where I am as I'm looking at you now. And I'm smiling because this whole process has been about letting go. And letting go just releases my shoulders, makes my smile wider, makes my day easier, makes my process what it is.